What does the B character do in front of a string literal? Apparently, the following is the valid syntax. I would like to know. What does this B character in front of the string mean? What are the effects of using it? What are appropriate situations to use it? I found a related question right here on so, but that question is about PHP though, and it states the B is used to indicate the string is binary, as opposed to Unicode, which was needed for code to be compatible from version of PHP is lower than 6, when migrating to PHP 6. I don't think this applies to Python. I did find this documentation on the Python site about using a U character in the same syntax to specify a string as Unicode. Unfortunately, it doesn't mention the B character anywhere in that document. Also, just out of curiosity, are there more symbols than the B and U that do other things?
Python 3. X makes a clear distinction between the types. str equals, ... literals equals a sequence of characters. A character is a basic unit of text, a letter, digit, punctuation mark, symbol, face, or control character, like tab or backspace. The Unicode standard assigns each character to an integer code point between 0 and 0 by 10 FFFF. Well, more or less. Unicode includes ligatures and combining characters, so a string might not have the same number of code points as user-perceived characters. Internally, str uses a flexible string representation that can use either 1, 2, or 4 bytes per code point. Bytes equals, b ... literals equals a sequence of bytes. A byte is the smallest integer type addressable on a computer, which is nearly universally an octet, or 8-bit unit, thus allowing numbers between 0 and 255. If you're familiar with Java or C#, think of str as string and bytes as byte. SQL, think of str as mvaka and bytes as binary or blob. Windows registry, think of str as reg_sced and bytes as reg_binary. If you're familiar with C++, then forget everything you've learned about char and strings, because a character is not a byte. That idea is long obsolete. You use str when you want to represent text. You use bytes when you want to represent low-level binary data like structs. You can encode a str to a bytes object. And you can decode a bytes into a str. But you can't freely mix the two types. The b ... notation is somewhat confusing in that it allows the byte 0 by 010 by 7f to be specified with ASCII characters instead of hex numbers. But I must emphasize, a character is not a byte. In Python 2. X. Pre 3.0 versions of Python lacked this kind of distinction between text and binary data. Instead, there was Unicode equals, u ... literals equals sequence of Unicode characters equals 3. X str equals, ... literals equals sequences of confounded bytes / characters. Usually text, encoded in some unspecified encoding, but also used to represent binary data like, struct.pack, output. In order to ease the 2x to 3.x transition, the b ... literal syntax was backported to Python 2.6, in order to allow distinguishing binary strings, which should be bytes in 3x, from text strings, which should be str in 3x. The b prefix does nothing in 2x, but tells the 2 to 3 script not to convert it to a Unicode string in 3x. So yes, b ... literals in Python have the same purpose that they do in PHP. Also, just out of curiosity, are there more symbols than the b and u that do the things? The a prefix creates a raw string. For example, r''t is a backslash plus t instead of a tab, and triple quotes ... or ... allow multi-line string literals. The f prefix, introduced in Python 3.6, creates a formatted string literal which can reference Python variables. For example, my name is name, ... is shorthand for my name is 0, ... format name.
To quote the Python 2. X documentation. A prefix of BRB is ignored in Python 2. It indicates that the literal should become a bytes literal in Python 3, for example when code is automatically converted with 2 to 3. A U or B prefix may be followed by an R prefix. The Python 3 documentation states, bytes literals are always prefixed with BRB. They produce an instance of the bytes type instead of the SDR type. They may only contain ASCII characters. Bytes with a numeric value of 128 or greater must be expressed with escapes.
The B denotes a byte string. Bytes are the actual data. Strings are an abstraction. If you had multi-character string object and you took a single character, it would be a string, and it might be more than 1 byte in size depending on encoding. If took 1 byte with a byte string, you'd get a single 8-bit value from 0 to 255, and it might not represent a complete character if those characters due to encoding were is greater than 1 byte. TBH, I'd use strings unless I had some specific low-level reason to use bytes.
From server side, if we send any response, it will be sent in the form of byte type, so it will appear in the client as response from server. In order get rid of b ... simply use below code. Server file. Client file. Then it will print response from server.
The answer to the question is that it does. And in order to decode it, remove the B, because sometimes you don't need it. Use